But who better than me?
Welcome back to Base Talks. And on this one, I had definitely the honor and the pleasure to speak with promoter extraordinaire of K2 Promotions, Alex Krassyuk, who is the promoter of Alexander Usyk. I've actually always liked listening to Alex Krassyuk interviews. He drops nuggets and gems that I think a lot of people don't necessarily catch the first time. And I always like listening to interviews with people who, even though English isn't their first language, they always seem to have a very good grasp and concept of it, and always seem to be able to communicate very, very effectively in it. And I'm not talking from a fluency point of view, but you can almost tell, because it's not the first language, there's almost no room for the nuance or the BS. And Alex has a little bit of that about him, but I think he's found just enough of the showmanship to make it highly interesting. So yeah, this one is going to be in full. So please enjoy the full interview. Nothing's been taken out, nothing's been edited. But this interview will also be on the Undefeated podcast channel tomorrow. So make sure you tune in there as well. Before you watch, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you haven't liked, please like. All of that stuff helps with the algorithms, and it just allows me to do more of this stuff when my time permits. So with that being said, enjoy the interview, and yeah, give me your feedback. I hope you enjoy it. This is Base the Kid, the hardcore casual, in association with the Undefeated podcast, proudly sponsored by Disturbing Sports London, and I am here with promoter extraordinaire Alex Krassyuk. Alex, how you doing?
All good, thank you. A little bit tired, but ready to go.
I appreciate you giving up your time. I know you've been here all day, so I won't take up too much of your time. But there was a question I actually would have really liked to ask Alexander, but clearly he's off eating and enjoying until he goes back to training. He's been fairly inactive since 2019. Now, it's inexplicably, he seems to get better fight by fight since moving up into heavyweight. But is there any concern that the time off and only boxing once a year could potentially be an issue, especially in this fight with such a younger, fresher opponent?
It's definitely not an issue, because he was inactive on the official ring, but he was really active in the training camp. He had to go through almost half-year preparation when he was getting prepared for Tyson Fury fight that didn't take place. So he spent time in a training camp with his team, with the sparring partners. So he practiced a lot. That's what he did, and that's what he's doing now. I don't think Usyk has the lack of practice, because he is the one to become the European, world, Olympic champion in amateurs. He has become the world champion in cruiserweight. Then he became the undisputed cruiserweight champion. Now he's the unified heavyweight champion. He doesn't lack experience. I mean, boxing is in his blood, and he doesn't forget it, because he stays fit throughout his life. You can never see him fat, in bad condition. He's always fit, he's always good. Thanks God, he received a present from the Lord of a good health.
Great stuff. Okay, so with this fight, obviously it was a fight that had to be made in order to keep his belt, to keep the goal of undisputed on task, which is obviously what he's driving towards. With regards to his opponent, Daniel Dubois, being again the younger, probably more explosive fighter, what is, in your opinion, the main dangers for Alexander to look out for in this fight to stay on that quest to become undisputed?
Listen, Daniel is hungry. You don't know what to expect from him. You can't say that he's as skilled as Usyk. You can't say that he's as well experienced. But what you can definitely say is that he's hungry and thirsty for the victory. And he received his chance in the age of just 25. That doesn't happen very often. This is his asset. This is his biggest asset. He's young, okay. being young doesn't mean being stronger. I don't think this fight will end in Daniel's favor. That's not because I'm Usyk's promoter. That's because I've been in boxing for a while. There is always a chance, especially in heavyweights. There's always a chance. You remember Lennox Lewis fighting Hasim Rahman. But that was the mistake made by Lennox Lewis. He underestimated his opponent. He spent time enjoying life rather than working hard. Usyk is not making this mistake. He's working really, really hard and concentrated. So I think this fight will end up inside the distance. Most likely Daniel will suffer some severe beatings, but I'm telling this with respect to Daniel because the experience he will get in this fight will probably change his career for much better. Because after fighting Usyk and, let's say, losing to Usyk, he will become a much stronger fighter that he can even imagine at the moment.
Prior to this, when the negotiations were happening with Tyson Fury, or attempting to happen, much was made about Usyk's quote-unquote lack of drawing power and sort of lack of presence and popularity as a UK and US attraction, hence why he was only due 30%. Now, what do you then make of the fact that, you know, Frank Warren, Queensberry and TNT Sports have now put this on box office for someone that apparently is not a draw?
It makes me think that someone was lying or using proper timing and some special language for negotiations. Just the advantage of the position. Well, most likely Anthony Joshua was more popular than Tyson Fury by that time. And according to my knowledge, he generated more pay-per-view money than Tyson Fury did. Selling tickets is more about Tyson. He sells more. I was myself at a couple times at his fights when he was fighting White and fight with Chisora. It was sold out, big venues, and especially I was impressed with the last fight in December, open air stadium, and it was sold out. That's brilliant. But doesn't make him a big draw. Let's wait and see what we have at the end of this fight. How popular Usyk will be. But here in the UK, it's completely different than anywhere else in the world. I mean, UK people understand boxing more than anyone else. And if you bring a character like Usyk here, who is sincere, who is fair, with dignity, with respect to everyone, he will gain the popularity very fast. And I can say opposite about Tyson Fury, because his popularity is now suffering some bad times. Due to his actions, actually. It's not because someone's saying any bad things about him. That's because he's doing things that do not bring him respect from the fans. So he's not delivering the most anticipated and expected fight for the undisputed. Instead, he's accepting a fight with an MMA fighter who never went in a boxing ring. Doesn't look fair from the fans' perspective.
Now, speaking of that, and I will sort of end it with this one, Frank Warren on numerous occasions via TalkSport, via different outlets, had stated that the heavyweight division was stagnating because both Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua were waiting for the end of the year to fight in Saudi and make big money in Saudi Arabia. So how ironic do you think it is now that the only person waiting until the end of the year to fight and fight in Saudi Arabia is Tyson Fury?
It reminds me of a president's run. You know, when you hear some promises and the critics on the current president, and when the person becomes the president, he immediately does same mistakes. Let's say mistakes. They're not mistakes, but there's only one way, working way to get the other person's position is to criticize him. Might be the reason, but we are not like criticizing Tyson Fury. He does what he wants to do. If he puts money in the focus, and that's the major objective for him, he's doing probably good things. If he wants to buy a soccer club, or he wants to, I don't know, to become one of financially successful athletes or just person, maybe he wants to create his own bank or whatever, he might be doing good. But from boxing perspective, he will lose his position very fast if he keeps this way.
Well, Alex, look, thank you very much for your time. We do hope that Undisputed, we can get there somehow by hook or by crook. Next is Daniel Dubois, so we will be tuning in on TNT Sports Box Office. So thank you very much for your time.
It was my pleasure.
So that, ladies and gentlemen, were the words of Alex Krassyuk. I enjoyed that. I kept it brief because he had been doing media all day and he was tired. I know he wanted to go, and the fact that he stayed behind and gave some of his time, I appreciated. So with that, I'm gonna cut this one off here. Please leave your comments down below. Let me know what you liked, maybe what you didn't like, anything that maybe I need to improve on, because remember, I'm not the interview guy, but there are certain people I do have keen interest to talk to, and Alex Krassyuk was one of them. I have ticked that off the list now, and I would definitely be willing to have another conversation, maybe a bit more in depth in the future. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts were. Thank you again for watching. Like, subscribe, memberships, all of that good stuff. And that's another Base Talks closed.